Hi, so it's Thursday, I think the 2nd or 3rd of April, and I've still got my terrible cold, but it's Thursday night, 8 p.m, and what we're doing in the UK is going outside and clapping for all the care workers, the NHS workers, the cleaners, the shop workers, the policemen, the firemen, the truck drivers, everyone that's still working and putting themselves in the line of fire for catching the Covid-19. So I'm just off out to see what it's all about. I haven't done it before. I'm gonna give it a go. It's quite emotional, actually. There's quite a lot of people out clapping, bibbing horns and whistling. Blimey, they're still going. I thought it was just for a minute, but they seem to still be going. Hi and welcome to No Second Season. I've been back in the UK a month now. I flew from Australia on the 24th of Feb. It's now the 29th of March, so it's just over a month. When I left Australia, I was already worried about the Covid-19, so I brought some good quality masks. I wore a mask all the way home, on all the flights, all the time, in the airports, on the bus, etc. Scrupulous with my hand cleanliness, tried to keep away from people. Returned home. 2 days later, I catch a cold. It cleared up after a few days. Then I caught another cold, which cleared up after a few days. And 2 weeks ago, I caught a cough. I'm really trying hard not to cough now, by the way. And so 2 weeks I've had this cough. I called the doctor after a week because I was worried it was Covid-19. She didn't think it was because I had cold symptoms as well. She said, see how it goes. So I did. It got a lot worse over the last week. So I called her yesterday and she thought we should try some antibiotics because it could be a chest infection. She said it might not be, so she wasn't that happy about me having antibiotics, but I don't know what a chest infection feels like. I've never had one. But anyway, I've started taking them. The antibiotics were actually delivered by Frost's, the local pharmacy, to my kitchen window, which was very kind of them. And I've started taking them. So I'm hoping to see an improvement so I can take myself out of isolation and get out on my bike at some point. Last weekend, I decided to unpack and build my bike, my Specialized Camber that I used for my bike packing tour in Spain. The guy had stripped it down completely. I was so very grateful to him for packing it for me while I was incapacitated. Alas, he'd stripped it down so much, it even took the brake discs off. And it took the forks out and the derailleur off, completely stripped it, much more than I would have done. Anyway, he seems to have rammed the screws back in the axles with no discs, with a power tool, done them up really tight. They'd bottomed out, it's messed the threads up. I've tried to get the discs back on, but the screws really aren't seating properly. So I've got some. The local bike shop, Broadribs of Banbury, kindly dropped me off 12 of these little Torx head screws. So I can try and get my discs back on properly, so I'm going to do that today. Now, after I built the bike, I took it outside to wash it, and when I washed it, the tyres just foamed up. It was really strange. All the sidewalls of the tyres just went all foamy, and I sort of scratched my head a bit and thought, what on earth's going on? And and then I realised that the sidewalls of both my tyres, both sides, front and rear, are porous. And I think that's because when I got stuck in some clay on my ride in Spain, I just kept riding and the sidewalls of the tyres were running through the mud and it scraped the rubber off the sidewalls. And not only that, I use Specialized tyres, and they do two versions of their tyres. They do a control, which has a thin sidewall, and a grid, which has a thick sidewall. Now, I was using the control tyres that come on the bike. So I think a combination of that and the mud has resulted in the tyres becoming porous. Now, I'm sure if I put some new sealant in, it would hold, but I really don't want to risk it. I hope to do some more bike packing once this horrendous pandemic is over. I can't see that being until 2021, but we will see. I shall show you the tyres. So this is my rear tyre, and you can see the canvas on the sidewall. So you can see this is the control version. So the new ones I've got are the grid. So today I'm going to fit new tyres with some fresh sealant and put my brake discs on properly. So the wheel's going that way round, it's going to travel in that direction, and the rotation is in that direction. Super. So you can see inside the tyre the latex has sort of gone off. There is some wet still in there. It is coating all of the sidewall, but it's not holding air. So I think I'm doing the right thing in replacing them. Look at that thorn. So anyone who, if you're not tubeless, until you try it, you just don't realise how fantastic it is. It's really, really good. You don't get punctures unless you have a big split or something. I've never, touch wood, had a puncture with tubeless. And you can see there's a huge thorn in here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a thorn gone all the way in, and I'll need to get some tweezers or something to get it out. It's, in fact, I don't know, I can't even see its entry point, but there, and that is really hard, that thorn, and it's big. I wonder how many others are in there. When I was on my ride in Spain, I went through a lot of thorns. There were two particular areas. I had to ride through like tunnels of brambles, and it was quite unpleasant. There's another one here. You can see that thorn there. And on the outside, you can't even see the entry point. It's very strange. But yes, I shall clean those up. I think you need to get rid of the old latex and get all the thorns out and keep them as emergency spares. I may even carry one bike packing. So let's do the front tyre. So first of all, you break the bead on both sides. In case you haven't done a puncture before, not everyone has. So when you're tubeless, you haven't got to get a tube out. You don't have to take the valve out at all. Let the air out. Break the bead on both sides. Breaking the bead means that the edge of the tyre is no longer against the rim, and you're pulling it into the centre of the tyre. So that's done. So that just sort of loosens it all up a bit, and then you need to start getting the first bead out. And what happens is I can run round here and it will pull the bead out, but it will be following behind by pushing it back in. So you kind of need to hold it. And these are Schwalbe tyre levers, and they have a little grip to clip into your spokes. Now I don't know if it harms the spokes, but it's really handy. You get it level with a spoke and you just clip it in, and then it holds it for you. There. And once you've got, say, 8 inches of the bead out, it just falls out. So now you've only got one side of the tyre in the rim, you need to get the other side out. Be careful not to damage the tape. There's sealing tape, sticky tape, run around the rim, and that's extra protection against leakage and seals off the spoke holes. I'm hoping I don't need any new tape. It can actually be quite expensive. There, that wasn't too difficult. This sealant's been in here since February 2019, so it's just over a year, and it's all but gone off now. Possibly if I'd have kept riding it, it might have stayed fluid, but possibly not. Isn't it amazing that tyres fold up nowadays? So I know that on my bike, my caliper, brake caliper, is on the left, so the wheel's going to rotate that way. So I need to make sure the direction of rotation is correct. It's actually quite hard to find the little arrow, which is quite annoying. I wish they'd make it bigger. Specialized, please make it bigger or put it in white. So there's the direction of rotation, and that's how it goes on the bike. So that should be correct. Just going to inspect. It's worth checking the tape to make sure you've not split it while you're taking the tyre off, and that your valve can get quite clogged up. That doesn't look too bad at all. One side on. So let's just check the rotation. It should be going that way. If only I could see it. There it is. So caliper to the left, rotation forwards. We're okay. Obviously with tubeless, make sure your valve is in the middle of the two beads. It wouldn't be much use to one side of both beads. These Schwalbe tie levers are really good. You get 3 of them and they stack together, and I really like them. They are my favourite ones. So they like clip together like that. Very nice. So that's tyres on. Just need to pump them up. As I say, I'm not going to put sealant in. So with tubeless tyres, it's notoriously difficult to get the beads to seat the first time. So you really have to ram the air in quickly. I'm struggling with breath because of my cough. But what I need to do is pump really hard, really fast, and get a lot of air in it all at once. And that's why you need a little bit of lubrication around the beads so they can slide on the wheel and then pop out. And you'll know when it's done because you'll hear a pop. Pushing out nicely. You hear that? So that was the beads seating. So a bit more, I think. But if you imagine on a trail, you wouldn't be carrying a pump like this, so it would be near impossible to reseat a tubeless tyre. There we go. You hear that? That's popped in nicely. And how you can tell it's centralised is just around the edge is a line, and if you look at that line, it's about 2 millimetres away from the rim, and if it's 2 millimetres away from the rim all the way round, you know it's seated nicely and centrally and fully seated. So, one done, one to go. So you would think that's seated, but it's actually not, because you can see the little line around here. It dives into the rim just here and there. So this piece here still needs to pop out. So keep going. There we go. So you can see that bead has now popped, and the line is even all the way round the circumference of the rim. So I know that that's ready to go. Spot on. Really chuffed about that. and I'm not going to bother putting sealant in because we don't know when we're coming out of isolation, do we? So I use this one. It's called, I think it's called Seal, Orange Seal. I have very good results with this. I think it's a really good sealant. This bottle is around £10 and this will do 2 wheels, half in each. And I've got a miniature bottle of this that I take on the trail so I can top it up if I'm away for a long time. And what I will do is, I don't have to take the tyre off. I use this, which comes with it, and I squeeze it in through the valve. So there's no mess at all. Now, my other bike in Australia, I had new wheels and tyres on that, and they've put in a different sealant. They've put in the muck-off one. I was going to go for muck-off across the board, but as I've got a spare on-trail bottle of, small bottle of the Orange Seal, I thought I'd stick with that for my UK bike. So I'll give these tyres a clean and pack them away. They'll definitely go again if I get in trouble, so we'll keep them as spares. So the guy that packed my bike, he took the discs off and then he put the screws back in with a power tool, and it's actually messed the threads up. I don't know if you can see. So I went off into my landlord's shed, hunted through his toolbox for a scribe so I could try and clean the threads. And I generally am an unlucky person, but I can't believe in the top of his toolbox, all the little spare nuts and bolts, was a tap exactly the right size. So I'm cleaning the threads out with it. This one is the worst one. It's quite a mess. There's a lot of swarf coming out, but I am doing it with my fingers. I don't have a driver for it. I'm sure he must have one somewhere, but I daren't turn his shed upside down. So I'm hoping to be able to clean this enough to put the screws in without them being tight. And I feel like it's going to work. That has saved the day. How lucky. So, let's put the disc back on. So the discs, they're marked with a rotation as well. Just here, direction of rotation. So it's on the bike that way, the wheel goes that way. So it fits on with this, the rotation on the outside. So now the holes are clean. I'm hoping to be able to screw these in. This is the really bad hole, this one. Yeah, I think he cross-threaded it. Bloody idiot. It's a bit annoying. Now these washers also have to go a certain way. They're marked with top on them. In the middle, in the centre it says top, and so you need to put them on the right way. Right, so I don't have a torque wrench. I don't know what the torque setting is, but you know, it ain't rocket science. I'm guessing the hubs are perhaps, I don't know if they're steel or aluminium, but they're steel bolts, and just a nip, it should be enough. I'd like to get a torque wrench at some point, but it's not priority. As I say, they've got a spring washer and they've also got a thread lock on them, so they should be fine. undone. So let's see what this thorn's like. It's huge. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a nail. I don't know if you can see that. But it was perfectly sealed by my sealant. I wasn't having any puncture problems at all. Anyway, I won't bore you with this. I'm going to clean these up and pack them away. It's all the sort of shit you collect. So the only time I've had a problem with tubeless is on my stump jumper. My rear wheel kept going down and I had to put a tube in it. Just couldn't hold the pressure with tubeless. And anyway, it turns out it was cracked, and because I kept riding it with it cracked, it actually, when I changed them in Australia last month, my carbon rims, a big chunk had fell out of the inside of the wheel and around the crack, and that's why it wouldn't hold the tubeless pressure. So if you're going to refit tyres that have had sealant in them, I know by experience it's really important to clean the dried sealant off the bead, because otherwise what happens is they don't seat properly on the tyres, on the wheels. And what I found was I got a lot of wobble, tyre wobble. It wasn't the wheel wobbling, it was the tyre that was on the piss, on the wheel. So they don't sit centrally. So I think it's really important to clean all this dried sealant, get it off, just get it off the bead. I think perhaps what I might need to do is get a wire brush and just brush all the way around it, because it doesn't seem to want to come off. So I hope you've found some value in this episode, and until next time, I'll say goodbye for now.
Le cha-cha-cha. Le cha-cha-cha. Apprenons